Sure, we can take questions. Yeah. No, so, huh? No, don't worry. It's okay. You can give me. Oh, no, I'll handle it from here.
Yes, I'll moderate.
Why don't you come here then?
Thank you, sir.
Please.
On you to our Honorable External Affairs Minister for sharing his thought-provoking ideas with all of us and putting in perspective the India-Colombia relations from the angle of the Indian community and the role that Indian community can play in the enhancement and strengthening of the bilateral relations. I would also like to thank our Honorable Minister for apprising us of the importance of the relations for the Indian community present here. Now I would like to take the opportunity to have questions and any suggestions from the Indian community present here, and our Honorable Minister would like to answer them and address them. So, yes. Please introduce yourself.
I think it might be good if you give him the mic.
Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening, sir. I'm Amit Batra, right? I work for MNC in agriculture commodities, basically. So first of all, I really want to extend a warm welcome to you for coming here. As Mr. Ambassador said, this is the first time External Affairs Minister is coming here. But apart from that, it is a matter of great pride that we are sharing a room with you, a personality like you. Probably having a nap with you, if it is possible, not sure. But as you said, right, we really feel tall, right, in the international community with all the policies which you have introduced, with the comments, with the way you have put the foreign media in their place, who have been out trying to troll us, right, on some preconceived notions. So, sir, my question is not a very political or anything, but last time when General Saab was here, General V.K. Singh, right, I asked the same thing and he told that it was very clear on voting rights for NRIs, right? So I think it has been a long pending issue, right? And with such a big population living abroad, I think we are missing that part, right, sir? All my life, I have voted only 2 times when I was in college, right? So I think I would like to probably exercise my right and rightly right now with contributing towards the current government, right? So probably that is it.
Thank you. I suspect I'll give you the same answer which General V.K. Singh gave you. So, because, look, voting rights abroad is a complicated issue, particularly when we have the kind of numbers that we do. And there are many, there are really, truly, I mean, this is not a diplomatic dodge. There are many complicated aspects, people who are nationals, people who sometimes take passports but have not surrendered their passport, people who have overseas citizenship, which means they're nationals of another country. So at the moment, the compromise that was struck, which was struck during the Prime Ministership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, was OCI, that's been tweaked at times, the PIO, OCI got fused. That's still the sort of current, I would say, consensus zone. But it's an ongoing debate. I mean, I'm not suggesting to you that it's a frozen position either. I mean, there are many people who have sentiments similar to yours and make it felt. There are people who think there are downsides to the extension of voting rights abroad. So we'll have to go through this, So I think you'll need one more visit from me before I can give you a different answer.
Thank you, sir. The next question could be, I would request you to just, ask the questions and keep it short because we have to rush for another.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Warm welcome in Bogota again. And it was a privilege to be with you yesterday in Panama and today traveling together. So, sir, my question is, again, one extension of the question. is India is looking at permitting dual citizenship?
You know, that's honestly, I was still being a little bit more flexible to his question. I think dual citizenship is frankly, much harder, because if you look at the world and look, there are not that many big countries that permit dual citizenship. It has a lot of implications, you know, I mean, including security implications. So it's not, you know, for him at least, I said there's an active discussion. I'm not even sure I can say that to you.
My second question is, sir, what are the 5 industries which we should look for where India will take the leadership position in next 5 to 10 years globally?
Look, I would not quite put it in the way in which you asked the question. I would say our effort today is to get into global supply chains. Because it's not like a country decides that I'm going to dominate that industry. Yes, some countries do that. You know, China, for example, made such plans. It was part of the blueprint, and not just blueprint, they are actually making very active efforts. I think our way of approaching it is different. And part of the reason is also we have to make up for lost time, because, you know, when you look at the big periods when there was industrialization going on in the world, we did not take full advantage of it. We made it hard for manufacturing to flourish in India in different ways. And it's only in recent years that kind of support which business should get. And it's, you know, when I say business should get, part of the problem is even how we envisage it. That when we think of, say, manufacturing or which industries should we dominate, we tend to think of big companies and big products. Actually, you build strengths by having an entire supply chain at home. That you have to support your small and medium scale industries if you actually have to eventually support the larger ones. And that's not something that we did. In many ways, they were very disadvantaged in terms of even foreign competition. So our effort today, we have picked 14 sectors and actually have a policy of what is called production-linked incentives. That, no, 15 now, because we added semiconductor mission to it, which is in those sectors, if companies, could be even foreign companies, set up business in India and add to the production in India, then we incentivize that. And that's a way of actually attracting manufacturing to India. And it's proved very successful in some cases. You know, you heard me say this in Panama as well, that the production of Apple phones is a very notable example of that. But there are many others. Medical devices, for example, is another case where there's been a lot of production. We're looking at machinery of various kinds. So I would imagine, I mean, if you ask me, say, 2030, where would we be in 2030? Our objective in 2030 is to be much more deeply entrenched in global supply chains. And we think that the real contribution, the one thing we have which the world will need increasingly will actually be talent. And the change that I see, and I see this change even the last 2 or 3 years, that there was a time when, you know, we would be pushing to say, okay, can you increase the H-1B numbers? Today, actually, I have countries very interested in what they call mobility agreements. We've concluded one with Germany, just done one with Austria, did UK, France, in a limited way with Japan. These are countries which realize today, I mean, if you look, for example, at chips, at semiconductors, there's a massive shortage of the requisite skills in that field. So I think that's really the big opportunity that we should be looking at. Sorry. Yeah, please.
Hello, sir. Good evening. I'm Karthik, working for Tata Consultancy. I'm Karthik, working for Tata Consultancy Services over here. It's a very generic question, sir. How has your life changed being a diplomat and now being in the ministry, being a minister and a face of a political party? How do you manage both of these things?
For a moment, I thought you were going to ask me whether my life changed after leaving Tata's, which I was there briefly. Look, it's a very different experience. I mean, it's a big shift in line. I don't know if any one of you have ever done that in life, which is if you have done one particular specialization or a profession, to shift to another one. Though mind you, I mean, I'm helped by the fact that there is a common, if I was a minister, not in the foreign ministry, but in some other ministry, then I think the change would have been even sharper. So for me, at least the domain is the same, if the role is very different and the profession is very different. I would say at the end of the day, the really big difference is, and here I'm kind of speaking for all politicians, politicians really work very hard. I must tell you this. I only discovered it when I became a politician. That you cannot say no, to obviously anything reasonable. When you say you're at the service of people, believe me, that has a real implication. The pressures on you are more, the responsibility on you is more. And the difference I would really say is you have that bigger picture today as a political person, which you don't have, however, you may be the best diplomat or the best civil servant, but there is a limit which your own profession has set for yourself. This is beyond that limit, that you actually understand, in a sense, I would say not just your own vertical, but you have a 360 view of the entire landscape. And then you are able to look at your own vertical in a very different way. So it's that. I think in many ways you also need a different kind of personality to deal with this. I'm trying to evolve, sometimes maybe not so successfully, but let's see.
Thank you very much for everything that you do. I'm going to keep it short. So my question would be, Indian rupee is going global. What is the vision that India has? And what is the added responsibility that every one of us as Indian citizens should have?
First of all, I'm not a finance person. But when we speak about rupee going global, it's a very long process. It's the different stages and different aspects of it. At this time, mostly there's the practice of settling trade settlements using rupee. The UPI, we are looking at actively at UPI partners so that transactions there are much smoother and of a more competitive nature. We're trying to promote the RuPay card because there's no reason why I should necessarily have a card which is not made in India if I'm capable of producing a card and maintaining a card that is made in India. I feel it would be a very gradual process. A global currency has an enormous consequence, is a huge responsibility. And you see, a lot of countries who spoke about it, it's not been that easy for them to do. They've been very, very deliberate about the direction in which we have moved. So I do not minimize the challenges of becoming global.
And the last question, sir. Good evening, sir. My name is Jaideep Shukla. I represent Hetero, which is present in every market in Latin America. It's a pharmaceutical company from India. As many of us here, I get to listen to you as frequently as possible for me. And I would like to remember you as Mr. Dr. S. Jaishankar and not just the Honorable External Affairs Minister of India. You've been, sir, out for more than 40 years, and I would like to learn from you. What do you think is that one thing which we as Indians should never forget to be consistently growing and becoming big becoming big globally?
You know, I don't have an easy, immediate answer. I must be truthful. When I first started going out, one big difference would be there'll be very few places in the world where I could even see this many Indians in the room. You know, this was a period when you went to countries, if you actually saw another person looking like you, you'd cross the street just to go and talk to them, you know. I mean, so it was a very different era in a way. It was also, you know, the communications was very different. You were lucky, you know, we were lucky because we were in an embassy, so at least once a week somebody would fly in a newspaper. But the fact, and these were days where you had to book calls in order to speak to people. So it's an era which I cannot, you know, it would be impossible for me to explain this to my children, leave alone grandchildren, okay? But why am I saying that to you? I'm saying that to you because at that time, maybe our objectives were more immediate, ambitions were also less grand. We were in many ways trying to survive well. You know, that was really, in a sense, the state of the nation. And you know, when we look at these 75 years, I think it's very important to reflect on those 75 years because I probably am the oldest person in this room. But I can, but I suspect most of you, for example, would not have seen large-scale starvation in India. And I remember seeing it when I was about 10 years old. You wouldn't remember conflicts of a kind which people who are older would do. Or even the kind of some of the, I would say, social, political turbulence which we went through in the initial years. I'm saying that because over a period of time, you know, we've had our ups, we've had our downs, that's the nature of how societies evolve. But today we actually have a chance to think big, to do big. The world, you know, my real message to you today is the world is much more friendly towards us. The world is much more respectful, much more accepting of us, much more willing to work with us. So our challenge today is not limited by capabilities. The capabilities will grow. I can see capabilities growing every year. It's actually the scale of our ambitions. That how do we school ourselves to think bigger? And it can be an enterprise, you know, it can be an individual, it can be a government. But that is really the transition I feel like we are in cusp. That's why when I spoke to you saying, look, there's an era ahead, you know, what Prime Minister Modi called Amrit Kal. We should actually start thinking like, okay, next 25 years, where will the country be? If enough people start thinking about it, there will be a behavioral change which will happen. And if there is a behavioral change, there will be real changes that would happen. So, you know, all of us as we get along in life, you would like to be younger. It's a very natural human feeling. But I'm telling you, I would like to be younger because I would love to see where we are 25 years from now. that, to look back at the struggles of, let us say, the last 50 years, and then look at the next 25 years. I think that's the inflection point at which we are today. And I must also say this. I'm very, the more I travel in India, the more I, see younger people, their mindset, their levels of confidence, sometimes I use very trivial examples. Actually, they're not trivial, but let us say trivial in inverted commas. I tell people, look, for example, at sports, how sports has changed. Once there was that self-belief that we were capable of winning. So it happens in business, that there was a time when only really big companies went out. You could not imagine, let us say, a company like yours going out 20 years ago. Even if they were capable, they wouldn't have had the courage to go out. So today, you go to places, I'm just amazed at what our people are doing. And it's a great source of strength, I must tell you. That, when you sort of, that question which my young friend asked from TCS at the back. Yes, when you are an ambassador, you have this feeling you represent the country. A great feeling. When you are a foreign minister and you feel that national self-confidence and that kind of spirit which today there is in India, believe me, it's a huge source of confidence and strength for me. So it's a long-minded answer, but I would really say, short answer, think big. So once again, really, thank you all very much. I know you've all taken out time late in the evening, but I want to say that, it's really been an enormous pleasure meeting you people, talking to you. I am very confident that, it will not take many years for someone in my position or me to come back here, or someone higher than me to come here. So I very much, hope that the community can contribute to the respect, to the image, to the credibility, to the strength of India. Once again, tomorrow, as I set out in my job, I can say that this experience for me has been very, very useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Dr. Jaishankar, for your remarks. Now, I would like to invite you all for a group picture, please. By rows?
Yeah. Maybe the first two rows can please come up. Yes, yes. Now the next row may please come.